Okay, so today we're on with building a kitchen or a galley, whatever you want to call it, in this van. I'm going to go into why I'm not too stressed about the materials that I'm using and the weight that they are. You might see me coming in there. This is what the galley worktop's going to be made of. Yes, it's Korean. Yes, it's acrylic. Yes, it's very, very heavy. But I'm not that bothered about that.
As always, we're using basic tools and trying to pull off a true custom look. This week it's solid wood routed drawer handles, walnut cappings, and shaping that Korean for the worktops.
I'm going to be building a sort of traditional U-shaped galley here, 2 sinks going in the top of that, some cupboards and all that kind of stuff. So some super cool stuff to get on with. Right now though, I'm going to get on with building the first part, which is the U-shaped part of the galley here. I'm going to be using traditional plywoods, just like this one here. It's faced in walnut, and I'm going to cap it. Yeah, I'm going to cap it in solid walnut, American black walnut. So let's get on with that, and when we've done that, I'll tell you all about why I'm using that timber and why I think it's not such a bad idea.
Life in the workshop has been interesting. We've had a few weeks off. Chris has been sailing, I got sick, and we went to a boat show too. So it's almost been a month since we've been here, and it's good to be back. However, the reality is all of this work is taking time and we need to get a move on. So it's straight in at the deep end as we're pushing to get this big green mobile home of ours ready so we can start building an aluminium sailboat this winter.
Okay, so that's the fascia panel. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to route it into either side of this bulkhead and this quarter bulkhead here to give it its final place.
Rebating the panels here with a router is a bid to save some weight. We're not using any battens or extra uprights, and we've got minimal screw fixtures.
Okay, so I've been getting on with this fascia unit from the set you've just watched me make in there, and these are going to be the drawers at the top, and then the bin is going to pull out from the bottom piece here. Now, we're now going to clad the edges of this with walnut, solid American black walnut like this. These are offcuts from a previous video's work we did, and that's what we're going to use, and probably have to machine some more later when we run out of those. Why am I using walnut? Why aren't I using something that would be more commonly used? Now, of course, there's loads of ways to save weight in vans and add weight or do whatever you want, but it boils down to what it is that you're making. So if you're building an overland to go across like mountains and all that, I was going to say oceans, across mountains and all that kind of stuff, then you want it to be as light as you can get, because the four-wheel drive performance needs to get you there in one thing and another. If you're building something like we're building, which is for out and out comfort, you're basically building something like a Bentley. So to me, you know, it's that Bentley versus Lotus debate. Do you want something big and cozy and cruisy, if you like, or do you want something which is maybe not as comfortable but lighter, which is in the boat world a bit like, are you building a blue water cruiser for crossing oceans, or are you going to be building a boat to race? You know, it's a very different thing. Well, we're going to be living in this without a home, so I'm going down the lines of comfort, but weight still matters. There still is a payload that the vehicle can go to. Sure, we can increase the payload, but then we have to go and get a new driving license and all that kind of palaver. Don't really want to have to do that. Will do if I have to. But back to walnut. Why am I using walnut? Well, it's a medium density timber, okay? So to put this into perspective, the best timber that we could build a boat out of would be teak, okay? And it weighs somewhere around about 960, 980 kilograms per cubic meter. Let's give you a light wood, let's say Scots pine, something like that, weighs around about 510, so that's like half the weight. Well, this stuff weighs around about 650, 640, so it's kind of, hey up mate, it's alright, no, you're okay. The boys are back here with their JTB, that's the badger. So effectively what I'm saying is, this weighs 650, so it's certainly on the lighter end of that spectrum. We'll pick this up in a second, eh? Okay, so I've got these two fascias cut out right now. We've got two drawer fronts here, and this is going to fall down for the bin. And we've got a cupboard door here, which is pretty cool. Obviously, these are made from plywood. And as we're talking a little bit about weight here, I want to basically just say, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you what to make your van or your boat from. It's up to you what you make it from. But the two main types of plywood that are generally used are birch and poplar. Poplar's a lot lighter, or tulip wood, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot lighter, but it will soak up water, so I wouldn't use that on a boat. But you might want to use it in a van. It's kind of a good way of traditionally saving weight. You could save that by using other things, such as pet cores, like, you know, recycled bottles and stuff like that. Or you could go into like Nomex honeycomb cores and all sorts of crazy, you know, modern composites if you wanted to. But right now, I'm going to get this on here, cut these down to the right size. I'm going to glue them on in each area, and then I'm going to make a door handle which is flush. I want to do that because I think tight spaces feel really tight when you start getting door handles caught in your trousers and your pockets. So we don't want any of that. So that's what we're building here. We're then going to veneer over all of that, and then we're going to cut it all out, which is a similar process to what we did on the curved panel for the shower in the galley area, the heads area.
So as Chris is doing the finishing touches to the frames and the cupboard doors before we veneer it, I've been doing a little bit of rummaging in our, what looks like a bit of a junkyard behind me there. And I have found this, which is basically some of that sort of traditional plastic T-strip that you get, that typically in camper van conversions you'd edge the side of the doors and the door frames. And I reckon, Chris, I reckon we should weigh this in comparison to one of our solid walnut strips, because Chris seems to reckon as long as you use the solid wood sensibly, it's going to be just as light. But this feels pretty light, so come here, let's get the scales out and prove it.
Two of those. They're the same length. Right. Who's weighing, you or me?
So mine, go for it.
Right, let's go. These are our
No
resin
cheating
scales.
though.
Our resin scales are UNST. No, that's working now. Right, so here we go. 0. Do as you're told. All right. 33 grams.
33 for the walnut.
Coil this up. If I coil it up, it makes it dense, right?
What's the verdict?
42. So
42. What? So that's heavier?
It is, yeah. That does surprise me because this is like super thin. It's really not a very protective one. You get these in different qualities, obviously. Some of them are quite thick and they have a bit of bounce and they cap over the edges. This actually only caps over the edge about 1/2 mil, so basically that's cheap rubbish as well. So there
And
you
it's
go.
heavier. That really surprises me.
Well, the other thing is, by the time they get trimmed down, they'll be nearly a quarter, probably 2/3 of that size anyway. So there you have it. Cup of tea. So tea breaks have become sacred now. Some of you guys with a keen eye will have noticed we're in a new shed. We had to move out the last shed because the farm guys needed that shed for their harvest. And to be quite frank, it's taken us ages to get where we are and we took too long, so we had to shift out. Anyway, we're super lucky to be in here. There's no electric and we're on generator power, and that's why tea breaks are now a sacred moment. So that's pretty cool. We did buy a Honda generator, which I think are pretty cool. Pretty stoked about that, to be quite honest. Good to buy a good one because we're obviously going to need that in the future when we move out to Switzerland to work on the boat. Now, I know a lot of you guys have actually been following us for the van, but obviously being a boat builder, we want to build a boat, and that's what we're going to be doing in Switzerland. One thing's for sure there, we would be super, super stoked if we could take this shed with us. I can't imagine it though. But yeah, so we're on generator power and we've still got loads of stuff to get on with, which is cool. But basically a big push now to get this van ready for some of the most important boat shows of the year for us, so we can get back to boats and go wild and bring you new sort of gear and tech and all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what floats our boat, really. Right. Excuse me, I'm finishing my tea. Alright, so let's keep you in the loop with what's going on here. So we've got basically a draw fascia, alright? And then we've got a piece of 4mm MDF plywood on the back, sorry. And then we've got these battens here. Now, yeah, this is probably a bit confusing, but basically what we're looking for, we're going to create a handle which is flush, so you don't catch your trousers on it, one thing or another. So we made the jig earlier, and this is effectively what we're going for. So this is a run off the jig on a piece of scrap. That's the lip there to open the drawers and all that kind of stuff. So if I was going to put this directly into this plywood, it would end up with the grain of the plywood being able to be seen. So that's what's going on here. These pieces here are what we're going to cut the handle into. So they, if you can see, they fit there. So we've got that, and as you can see, most of this is going to get cut out. And that's going to go into the top of here. The plywood is just to make sure that the edge on the top is thick enough, because you don't want your handles falling off. And we have to have sufficient thickness in this to be able to get the depth for your fingers to go into. So I'm just beefing up the top a little bit. There's no particular science to the size or anything I've chosen, it's just set the saw and cut it. So that's what's going on now. I'm going to clag these on with probably just a bit of PVA. We could use epoxy as the door handle, but they're only lightweight drawers and stuff, so it doesn't really matter. PVA would be great, there's enough base on these to stick them on there wonderfully. And once that's done, we'll trim around the outside of this so it looks the same as the frames that we did just before. So that's these things. And then basically, we've got a little trick to centralize the doors in the middle of those, and then I'm going to lay a veneer over the whole thing, and hopefully that'll look really cool. So just tidying these up for the veneer that's going on the top. And the cool thing is that I'm actually just standing in any direction I want, like being able to go cross grain makes life a lot easier because it's getting covered with a veneer. And actually by going cross grain, we might find that we actually get even slightly better bond with the contact adhesive. So it's nice to be lazy once in a while, eh? And she's about good to go. Oh, just the edges to sort out.
Just another edge.
And the block plane that I'm using here is it's called a bevel up block plane. So the blade, if I take it apart, look, the blade is sat in this way, like a normal plane. It sits in that way up, which means that the angle that I put this on affects the angle of the cut, whereas if you do it that way, it makes no difference because it's always that edge that's the angle. Basically, I've got this set to 45 degrees, which is a really steep angle. It's harder to push, but we don't get tear out, so we don't start ripping the grain out. So it's a really neat trick to stop the tear out on your wood. Or at least I like it anyway. All right, so that's got these on there now. They're all done now. So what we've got, you can see on this big one quite easily. Basically, we've got the plywood, we've got the thick batten along the top, and then we've got like a smaller batten all the way around it. And that's so you don't see the plywood edging anywhere. I'm now going to use the jig that we made earlier, and I'm going to route out the door handles. That's going to take a lot of weight away from the top of this, but it's going to give us a really cool handle, and that's all I'm really bothered about. So that's kind of where we are now. And then a veneer over the top. I could do this the other way around. I could veneer it and then put the handle on it. And to be honest, you don't even have to veneer it. The only reason that I am veneering it is I don't like this sort of striped effect. So, and to be honest, because I knew I was going to veneer it, I can get it cut through the saw nice and quick with the old blades that we've got without having to worry about this tear out, which is going to be covered with veneer. So let's just get these veneered and you'll see what I'm talking about. The handles are going to look pretty sweet.
What's the verdict? Can you save it?
Verdict, so I made a bit of a cock up there. That's the front of the door. And I put the handle on the back of the door. So now I'm having to just square it up and flatten it up. And I wasn't too bothered about having the inside that flat, but now it is what it is. We'll save it.
You'll save it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we saved that.
Saved.
Hey, that's gonna look good.
You?
Guy who taught me said the boat builder who's going to be the best boat builder in this group, this was the guy who taught us at college, he said to me, it's not the guy who gets it right first time, it's the guy who can cover his cock-ups. I can guarantee you one thing, if anyone made a lot of cock-ups, it were me. I'm well practiced at fixing them. Right, cool. That and that.
Veneer time, baby.
It is, veneer time indeed. So right now I'm just deciding what to do with this veneer. It's been used obviously, and we're going to try and make the best of what we've got here. Now I've got this kind of hourglass bit going on here where this is book matched together, and I'm thinking where these two pieces go, I want this to look like one piece of wood, the grain following it round. And I think what would look probably the best is to join that in the middle of this kind of hourglass book match. So I'm going to cut this down the middle, glue one piece onto there and one piece onto there, so when they come together hopefully it looks like one nice piece. I mean obviously there's a join in it. We could have put it together and made out of one piece, but I think we've already got a bit carried away as it is, so we'll just go with something simple. This one's now laid down, it's alive that. Alright, let's have this one like this. And he's going to finish there. This is inside a cupboard, you don't see that, so there's no point in veneering that. And then this one goes like this. And it's going to come up at the 90 degree. Something like that. And that's why I put this blue V on before I cut it. Blue because it's nice and easy and I don't have to rub pencil marks out. So that one's going to go on there, like that. And we know that we just want these lines to meet up, which means that I'm not going to do something stupid like put it on backwards. Honestly, never done that before. Right, there we go.
I had a dream that you were mine. You lit the flame right over the line. On my darkest day, like a balloon under the sea, I rose up from
Mine is the clean first.
This is alright. It's perfect, man.
gloriously uncontrolled.
The floppy boot stomp is over.
Racing tomorrow, fix the flap.
Oh yeah, these are my racing shoes. They're there with the regatta, looking like an autumn doom with a shoe in one piece. Bloody hell. Imagine that, eh?
I had a dream that you were mine. We made love on satin blue light from a window of moon. Just one touch, I felt you ignite. The rivers crossed and black turned to white. So joyfully lost all of me, with it all coming off of me. When I woke up, you were just a trace in my blood. So from a crackling sea, charged electricity. When I woke up, you were just a trace in my blood. So from a crackling sea, charged electricity. I had a dream that you were mine. We let the flame ride over the line. On my darkest day, like a balloon under the sea, I rose up from pressure beneath, so gloriously, uncontrolledly, with it all coming off of me.
So the next step is to, we're going to work on the fiddles, which are like what stop things falling off the countertop. But in order to do that, we need a countertop. So this is going to be my template. So I'm basically going to use a technique called dummying out. Probably named after me, being a dummy. So this is, whoops, a dent. Just trying not to do that, Chris. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, well, anyone knows where that dent came from. Everyone even. Okay, so we're going to use a technique called dummying, and we're going to use something called dummy sticks for this. Here's some of these I prepared earlier. They're just a parallel, okay? That's all they are, parallel and something slippy on the back. I'm literally going to... That's pretty good, that thing, isn't it? But down this side here, you'll see there's a gap, okay? And we need to get this gap perfect so that the worktop, when we fit the worktop, fits in perfectly. So I've got a freshly sharpened pencil, and I'm literally just going to run this like this. So we see all sorts of wacky things that people do to make things feel like bulkheads and that. Honestly, man, I don't know what's going on in the world, but this works pretty well. So we don't cut that line. What we do is we'll make this the same. So I'm going to do the same over here and all around it. And we basically lie this piece of wood, which is obviously slightly too small, on top of the actual substrate. And then we can use the same dummy stick to go on that line. And I know that if I put that there where it is, and then I'll pencil onto the actual substrate on the other side here, and we know we get exactly the right shape. Simple, isn't it?
And the Corian is in, made to measure, absolutely loving it. Even comes with a hole drilled in the wrong place, but we can soon cover that up. We've even got a van take on fiddles. So in a boat, a fiddles is the sort of upstand on the surfaces so that when you heel over, stuff doesn't slide off. So this is our little take on that for the van, because obviously it's not quite as necessary. Plumbing, all plumbed in nicely. It's coming together. This is obviously where the sinks are going to be. Loving the drawers. I think the routed out handles is really nice. And the dovetails, I think it's a shame they're kind of hidden, but they're part of the strength of it all as well. So the drawers are great. This is our bin. Not often the bin would feature in like a tour, but I think it has its place to be shown. It's pretty cool. I mean, the size of the bin for a van is pretty good. Obviously going to have a bit of string or something holding that up. So yeah, oh, this. Any guesses what this is? I think this is probably going to be my highlight of the galley. This is involved. If you can guess what this is, then 10 points. It will all come clear. Maybe in the next video. So we've had quite a few questions in the comments about the sort of boat building techniques involved, or maybe what tools Chris has used. And so we have taken the leap and we've started a Patreon account. And so all those questions can be answered in a more thorough way, one-to-one, with Chris. Some people have also asked how to support us, so I think this is the answer. So we'd love to see you over there and have you as part of Sail Hub, and we can do one-to-ones like with Chris, whether it's asking about stuff we've done or maybe about a project you've got going on and want some advice. So that's pretty cool. Also a space for live Q&As at last, which is pretty exciting, and we've got lots of cool ideas there. So we're new to it all, but we'd love to have you involved. Favorite comment this week is from Ellie, or at least I think that's who it's from. It's not that clear, and obviously the name. But it was in relation to the video that we've done on cork. So you can see here, this is actually cork. If you haven't seen the video, we did a video about the cork and installing it, along with the sheep's wool and stuff. So we had Duka, who's from Odd Life Crafting, another channel. He was there with us. We were doing our vans together and we were drinking tea, and he was a big fan of these safety specs. And Ellie simply said, "I love this safety specs, TEA." Tickled me. Anyway, that was my favourite comment. Until next week, see you in the comments. Hopefully see you over on Patreon, or we'll just see you next week.
You got me feeling like life is good.